everybody, this is Michelle with Country Craft Creations. Welcome to the Back to School YouTube Hop. We are super excited about this. We have several designers that are involved and we are going to have some prizes and things. So please read the description down below for way more information about all of that and then links to the other tutorials. I'm really super excited to be sharing this with you. I did do a walkthrough of the supplies that I received for this project. It is the 49 Market Academia collection, and it's absolutely gorgeous. And when I first saw it, my brain went, we need to make an album that would summarize an entire school career, and so that's what I ended up doing. So I'm really happy how it turned out. It really came out nice. It's a very simple album. The tutorial is going to be very short because it's super simple, but I'm going to go through a very thorough walkthrough right now and show you everything that I did and how I decorated it. We're going to talk through that, and then we're going to dive right into the tutorial right after that, and I'll show you how I put it together. It's really super simple. I am using the lay flat method for my cover, and there is a link also down below in the description for that. So if you're not familiar with that, please check that out. I do give all the dimensions, but I'm not demonstrating it during this video. But the link will show you how to put it together, but I'll give you all the dimensions and everything for that. There is also a cut list in the description for this album as well, so you have that available. All right, so the album itself is 7 by 8.5. It has a 2-inch spine, and it's absolutely beautiful. Like I said, this 49 Market Academia collection is stunning. It's really beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. On the front, what I did was I chose this paper, and then I had the laser cuts, and let me show you. I don't have a whole lot left over of those. I used quite a few in my project. So like, for example, this page here, I used a lot. And then I also had it comes with some border strips and some, leaves. So I used those as well. And then I also had, and again, this is in the, reveal of the package that I received. I got the crystals, these majestic crystals by Prima. Use those throughout. So let me show you what I did. On the front, and I'm going to explain this in the tutorial, how I did the cover and how I used one piece of paper, the top strip of it. I chose this paper here, and then what I did was the laser cuts match the images on here perfectly. So what I ended up doing was, like, I took the owl out of the laser cut. There's an owl underneath there on top of that door, and I bumped it up with foam dots. And I added an owl here, so I really liked the two of them there. I added some of the leaves here. I did double layer, this globe here. So there is a globe underneath that, and I just popped it up. I wanted it to kind of be a 3D cover. I thought that was really super pretty. And then the backpack here, there's a backpack underneath. I just put the laser cut over top and bumped that up with some foam dots. And then this easel here with the chalkboard, that was also on that pattern paper here. So I bumped that up with foam tape as well. And then I used the, like I said, I put the leaves here. I added some more leaves here because there's some leaves up here. I just think that added a little something, something there. And then I decided I added 4 sets of 3 gemstones around the album. And I did that because those symbolize the 12 grades, 1 through 12. So that's why I chose to do it in 4 different places with 3 dots around. And I just thought that made that cover just absolutely pop, but it still looks extremely elegant. I just love how that turned out. So that's how I did the front cover. So the spine, I used, this is one of the border strips that come with the paper collection. This is actually the branding strip from the paper. There's a lot of different sayings, and there's some rulers and things like that on those branding strips. So if you get this paper collection, look at that, because I use those throughout as well. So that's what that is. And I wanted to put that on the spine. I liked that. On the back cover, I left this fairly plain because it is the back cover, but I did add more of the light bulbs here to the top corner, and then I added the desk and the apple here. And so it's nice and smooth, but it just added a little extra pop to that, okay? So when you open this album up, we have 3 pages, and there's going to be a section for each grade. And then I did an assembly here on the inside front and an assembly here on the inside back. And I'll show you those, but I was thinking kindergarten, your start of school, maybe preschool and kindergarten, and then here graduation. So that's my thinking and how I designed this. So if we go to this first assembly, this is really easy to do. You're going to make 2 of them, one for the inside front, one for the inside back. As I told you, I did receive this ribbon in my collection, so I used that to help keep it closed. And the fun part of this is that when it opens up, and I'm going to move it over a little bit, it opens like this and then like this, and then you have all of these areas. You could put 5 pictures here. You could do like I did and use the pattern paper on the front, 2 panels, and then put you know, photo mats here. I did receive in my collection evergreen, goldenrod, or no, excuse me, not goldenrod, sunshine, and then this paper here is ginger. So I received 1 sheet of each of those. So this is, like I said, the first page is like kindergarten or preschool, the very first time your child goes to school. I'm meaning this album to be like a summary of everything, so it's not going to hold all the things, but it's going to be a really nice summary type album. I did this for my son, my youngest son, years ago, and I made a smaller album, but I put a picture of each year in that album, and it's a really fun way to have a mini album that kind of summarizes everything. I liked that. So that's how this goes. This is one of the laser cuts, and you can put a picture behind. Let me grab a piece of paper so I can show you. So you can put that picture behind, tuck it under there, and it says first day up here. This is one of the pieces off the border strips, and then I added the leaves up here, and I liked that fall theme here. So that closes up like so, and then it closes like this. It's a really easy mechanism to make, and I'm excited to share it with you. And then what I did was I kind of tweaked it a little bit, and I put it as a pocket. So behind here you have some tags. So when it was all said and done with making everything, I had some papers left over. So I decided to make a couple tags. You could add more pictures here. So I used a little bit more of the ribbon, and then I also have, oh, I put it in backwards. There you go. So this is the front of the tag. I added one of the laser cuts here. I have the ribbon up here. I dug in my stash, and this is twine from Country Craft Creations. So I just looped it through a small hole that I made with my crocodile, looped the ribbon through, and then I tied the bow around it. And then down here, I added one of those branding strips again. So one had the ruler, and then I had this that says, "You are our shining star." And I thought that was appropriate for first going to school. And then I added this laser cut behind it. Now I did glue that all down because I didn't want it to get hung up in the pocket, but you still have plenty of room for a picture up here, and you also have room for picture and journaling back here. Okay, and then this piece here, this was one leftover strip of the ginger cardstock that I had. So I used a piece of pattern paper that I had left over, and I created a tag. And then I used the laser cut pencils here. They were double-ended pencils. I cut the ends off. I kind of just layered them like that, added a little bit of a twine bow, and then I glued one of the gem dots to the top of that bow, and that made a really pretty little tie here. So that's actually how this is going to look, like so. Okay, I did not make these in the tutorial. These were definitely from leftover pieces, but this piece, if you want to try and recreate, is 8 inches by 4 inches. And this tag here is, I cut it, this is 3.5 by 6. And then the pattern paper is 3.25 by 5.25. So if you want to recreate those sizes, that's what I did. And those just tuck in the pocket behind like so. So then we get to the pages. We have 3 pages in this album, so 6 sides altogether, and each page has 2 grades. So on the front, we have the flap here, and these were the 3x4 cut-aparts that came with the collection, so 1 whole page of these. And I backed them with the pattern paper. I did cut them down to 3x3, and then I added the photo mat. And again, the laser cuts here, and these are the pencils, but you can tuck your picture behind that. This was a border strip from those laser cuts, and I just thought that was really pretty. So that's what I did throughout on the photo mats. I added laser cuts to kind of go over the pictures. So this is first grade, and then you have second grade. And again, these photo mats here are 4x4. The journal cards I cut down to 3x3, and then on some of them, like this one I didn't add anything to, but this one I added a little apple from the laser cuts, and again, this is one of the border strips. And then I left this fairly plain, except for I did add some ivy to the top corner. I thought that was really pretty, the laser cut. They are incredible laser cuts, and they give a perfect dimension. Even if you don't use the foam dots, they give a really great, you know, dimensional look to your page. So there's first grade. When you turn the page, first grade and second grade, then you have third grade. And again, I left this one plain, but I did add a border strip down here on that 4x4 photo mat. So you can tuck your picture behind, and then you have fourth grade here. And again, the border strip here. And then this page here was fairly plain, but I did add the lights here, and then I added the desk, the backpack down here, and then the apple. And I did it in such a way so you can tuck your picture behind there. So it's connected at the bottom here and on the side, but you can add your picture underneath there. And then there's there's white space here, so you could add journaling to that as well. Now, each of the pages does have a pocket. And again, this was just done with leftovers that I had at the very end of the tutorial. In the tutorial, I talked about the green paper that I used for the matting the front and back covers. I did end up cutting out a frame, and I'm going to talk to you about that during the tutorial, but the inside of that green there is what I made these tags with. So I ended up having 2 large pieces left over. I did use some natural artisan cardstock from my stash to make more photo mats, and then I used little strips of paper just to make a little tab and put those underneath between the green and the photo mat on the one side. So I thought that was really kind of a cool thing. And again, this was done after the fact with my leftovers. And then I used some brown, the coffee felt brown that I had left over, and I used some more of the natural artisan cardstock from my stash, and then some leftover papers, and I made some tags. So those can go in the pockets, but the pockets can also hold any kind of memorabilia that you want because they're fairly big. This green mat measures 6.5 by 4.5. And then the white artisan cardstock here is 6.25 by 4.25. So that's how I did that. I did all of my matting 1/4 inch less than the page it was covering, which is a little bit different than what I normally do, but I was really trying to maximize the use of my paper. So I really wanted to, that's why I did that. And I didn't do the 1/8. So I went down 1/4 inch instead of 1/8 of an inch. So you see there's also more border around. So this mat here is 6.25 by 4.25, and then the pattern paper is 4x6. And that was a perfect little strip left over from making my pages. Okay. On the backs of these, I'll show you this. So this was fussy cut out of the pattern paper that was left over, and I don't even think I have a piece left over to show you, but there was a piece that you'll see in the walkthrough of the package that I got that had these beautiful little hexagon shapes in them, and I just fussy cut those out and use those as tabs. And then on the back, I decided, since this was kind of busier, I didn't want to add a whole lot to that, but on the back I did add a little laser cut to the back of the tag, and then you can put your picture underneath that. So that's how I did that. So these are optional things that you can do with your leftovers depending on what you have, but the pockets themselves, the pages are 8.25 by 6.25. So the pockets are fairly good sized. Okay. So then we go on to 5th grade. And so 5th grade, I left that pretty plain. I didn't add much to it. Did add the border strip here. And then 6th grade here, again, left that pretty plain and then added the border strip here. On here, what I ended up doing was this stack of books is lying on top of a stack of books that was on that pattern paper. I just bumped it up with a little bit of foam tape and gave that a little bit more dimension, just added a little bit more. But then I left the rest plain, and you do have a spot here. You could add a picture here and still not compromise all of the beauty of this paper. On the back, 7th grade, left that one fairly plain. And then I also did, you know, again, border strip. And the border strips were beautiful, just beautiful. So I was able to use these. I just love them. And then this one, like that, 8th grade here. So on this page here, all I did was add the bookshelf up to the top. And I think, yeah, I glued that one all the way down. There's a lot of paper here. In this pocket, again, this was just from scraps that I had left over. I made another photo mat, same size as the other one, and I did the little border or pull tab, excuse me, the same size. I cut that at 4 inches, that little piece of paper here, and then I just used my envelope punch board and I lined the paper up. Let me show you. I lined the paper up right at that corner and then just punched it. So I did that on both ends. Now, obviously that's a little bit longer than 4 inches, but that's how I made that tab shape. So just wanted to show you that as well. Then that was just little strips that were left over. And then this was another tag that I had made, again, cut out that little shape out of the leftover pattern paper to make the tab. And then this was a piece of paper left over. And then I added the natural cardstock to make another photo mat. So again, those are options that you can do if you want to. So that is that page. And then 9th grade, okay, left that one plain. So again, these photo mats are 4x4. And this pattern paper here is 4x4. They match perfectly on this page, giving you an 1/8 inch all the way around. Then here, and then this page here, the pages that I cut are 6 by 8, okay? So I ended up having 4-inch strips, and that's where I got a lot of these pattern papers right here, because I had a 4 by 12-inch strip left over, so that's where I got those. I hope that makes sense. On this one here, I added the trophies and did it so you could tuck a picture behind. Okay, that's 9th grade. And 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade here. And then on this page here, I didn't add anything because we had so much beautiful thing going on here. But there's a lot of room. There's a lot of room for pictures. And then on the inside here, again, we have tags. All right, so same type of thing. And then this one, I added the books to the back. And those just tuck in the pocket. So those are options you can use for your leftovers. And then just grab your stash and get your artisan cardstock. And then we have our senior year graduation. So this is the same mechanism as the front. And I just put this dial on the front of this journal card. There was a dial underneath. And then I added a gem dot in the front. And then this opens up like so. And again, you have room for pictures. I took this "Here's to you on your special day," and then I added the graduation cap here. And because I'm thinking this is for graduation, I did add that die cut. And again, you can put the picture behind it. And then underneath here, we have 2 more tags. So again, this was from a 4-inch piece that was left over from creating everything. And I added the other part of the border strip and another little piece from the branding strip that said, "Congratulations, you did it." And it said "Hearty congratulations" on the front, but I cut that off because it was going to be too big. I added the globe with the books, and then I layered the graduation cap on that. And then I did put the dial here and add the ribbon wrapped in twine. And then on here, again, just the extra pieces that I had, created this tag. And I did the same thing with the pencils. I just cut the other end of the pencils off because they were double-ended. Let me show you. I'll show you. Yeah, like that. They were like this, and I just cut the ends off to go underneath the bow and the gem dot, and just glued that down. Left the back plain so you could put pictures and do your journaling and things like that. So then this goes into the pocket behind that mechanism, and it sticks out and it looks real pretty. In the tutorial, I'll show you how to cut all this, but just remember, for all of the pattern paper that I used and all of the cardstock that I used, I personally, on this one that I went ahead and just cut them 1/4 of an inch smaller. So if For example, these pages here are 3 1/4 by 4 1/4, so my mat is 3 by 4, okay? I just want you to know that that's what I did, and that's how I maximized having, you know, my paper and having enough to do what I wanted to do. So that's my walkthrough. I hope you enjoy it, and let's get in on the tutorial. As always, if you have any questions, please let me know. And also, don't forget to check everything out in my video description. Down below, I've typed out a whole bunch of information that you might want to know. And there's links to all of the other designers. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in just a second, and we'll get on with the tutorial. I wanted to talk about the cover first. So I've already made it using the lay flat cover method. I really love this method, and I do have a video down below that you can go to learn how to make this if you aren't familiar with it already. So I went ahead and did that. I'm going to give you the cover measurements, and we're going to talk a little bit about how I'm going to decorate the front of it. So the chipboard, you will need 2 pieces that are 7 by 8 1/2, and 1 piece that's 2 by 8 1/2. And then the cardstock to cover, 2 of them at 9 by 10 1/2, which will cover the front and the back. And then 1 that is 5 by 10 1/2, that will cover the spine. And then on the inside, you'll need 1 that's 5 by 8 3/8, and that will cover the inside spine. So those are the measurements for the cover. Now, again, I've already done it. So this album is 7 by 8 1/2 with a 2-inch spine. And then on the inside, I went ahead and cut my pattern papers, and I went ahead and covered this. So I'm trying to do my pattern papers, excuse me, a little bit frugally, because I only had 10 sheets to make this album. So I'm trying really hard to use it a little bit frugally. So in this album, I have cut my papers a little bit differently. I usually cut them at 1/8 inch smaller than the piece it's covering. So for example, for this cover here that's 7 by 8 1/2, if I was to cover this, normally I would do 6 and 7/8 by 8 3/8, but I'm doing it different this time, and it depends on the papers you have too, and how much of them you have. This time I am cutting it 1/4 of an inch smaller, so you're going to have a bigger area of cardstock showing. So for the 7 by 8 1/2, for example, this time I'm doing 6 3/4 by 8 1/4. Okay, so all of my pieces are going to be 1/4 inch shorter than the piece it's covering. Okay, hope that makes sense. For the 2-inch spine, this is 1 3/4 instead of, you know, it's to cover a 2, so I minus 1/4 is 1 3/4, and then by 8 1/4. Okay, and then I only had 1 piece of each pattern paper, so I'm kind of mixing and matching. So then on the outside, because I wanted to do some, you know, try and use my papers as much as possible, this piece here was a strip off of the 12 by 12, so I took the bottom of it off. And then I did have a piece of the the cardstock, the coordinating cardstock, and the paper that I'm using, this one is called Evergreen, the green here, and it's a My Colors paper. So what I ended up doing was cutting that My Colors paper. I cut it to 6 because it's 12 inches. So I cut the green piece to 6 by 8 1/4. All right. So you can see that there's a you know, area here that I need to cover. So what I ended up doing was that green piece, 6 by 8 1/4, and then I cut the pattern paper at 5 3/4 by 8. Okay, 5 3/4 by 8. And I put that down. Now, the other thing that I did, because I only had 1 piece of the green, was that I cut a border around it so I could use this piece inside for something else. So I just did a 1/2 inch border, and for me personally, I used my frame punch, but you could just as easily put it in your cutter and line it up at 1/2 inch and then just cut that out. So that's how I did that, but that gave it a nice border, and this paper is so thick that no one is ever going to, you know that that middle piece is cut out. So then to cover the spine, I cut a piece again that was 1 3/4 by 8 1/4, And then this is 1 3/4 by 8 1/4. And that's how I'm going to fill these empty spots and kind of give it a look. So I'm going to put those down first on the front and back cover. And then I'm going to layer this over the top of it so that you can see the full matting. Okay. So we'll do that real quick on camera and then we'll get on to the pictures. So I'm just going to put glue. I did ink my edges with the espresso ink that I got in one of my last design team packages. And it is an ink, so it's perfect for like stamping and everything, but I did decide to try to use it as a distress ink, and it worked really well. And I think because of the vintage feel of this paper, that I wanted to kind of just ink the edges just ever so slightly to get that white core off, okay? So now before I glue this down, I want to go ahead and glue this piece down here. So that's going to go to the side, and then this will overlap it just a little bit. And then it's also going to give the look of, you know, the spine being wrapped around the book. It's going to kind of give that illusion. So that's why I wanted to do that. So I'm just going to glue that down here. It's going to be 1/8 of an inch in and up, and I'm just eyeballing it like so. Okay, and then this piece, which is for my front cover, will overlap that just a little bit, okay? And it's cut as at the same height, excuse me, as, yikes, I can't even get the glue on my paper. It's cut at the same height as the green mat. This paper is so pretty. So pretty. So I hope you're enjoying the hop. I know that we all had a lot of fun creating our projects. That's for sure. It was fun to create this project. All right. So like so. So that's going to be my cover. Let's do the other side real quick and I'll just show you. So this is kind of a way that you can use to kind of, you know, if you don't have a whole lot of papers, a way to kind of piece things together to create your cover. So I thought that was something I wanted to share with you. So I hope you like it. Let me know what you think. I am curious to know. So again, I cut the middle out so that I have it for something else. Can use it for tags, for photo mats. You know, like I said, if you don't have a lot of paper and you want to try to stretch it as far as you possibly can, this is a great way of doing it. Okay. So again, just lining that up and about 1/8 of an inch around. And then there is my cover done. Okay, so when we close it, that's what it's going to look like. Isn't that pretty? And then it wraps around, the color kind of wraps around, and there's the spine. So then there's the inside. The next thing we're going to do is work on our pages. And for our pages, I have some of the pattern paper already ready to go. We're going to make 3 pages in this album. So you will need 3 pieces that are 11 1/4 by 9 1/4 and 3 pieces that are 11 by 8 1/4. Okay, put that off to the side here, and then we will, there we go, put my notes there. Grab our scoreboard, and we're going to start with the 11 1/4 by 9 1/4 piece. We're going to put it in our scoreboard. And we're going to do an L hinge. So we're going to start with the 11 1/4 at the top. I can't use my words today. We're going to start at half and then 3/4. Okay. The half is to attach to the spine of our album. And then the 1/4 is my give space to help the pages turn. Then we're going to go over and we're going to score at 7. And what I'm going to do in the process of this book, this particular piece here, this 4 1/4 inch piece, is going to flip over to this side. So I'm actually going to turn it over and score it again. All right. So at half, 3/4, and at 7. And then we're going to turn it and we're going to score it half on either side. Okay. So at half and at 8 3/4. Then the second piece to make this page, we're going to have an 11 by 8 1/4 inch piece. We're going to score at 1/2, Okay, you do not have to score at 3/4 on this one, just at 1/2. And then we're going to score at 6 3/4. And then again, I'm going to turn it over and I'm going to score it again at 6 3/4 because the paper is going to flip back and create a flap. So then we're going to move our scoreboard and fold and burnish. We're going to miter on this page, the smaller page, the 11 by 8 1/4 with just the 2 scores in it. We're just going to miter that 1/2 inch score, okay? And then we'll fold and burnish, and that one will be done. Okay, so the 1/2 inch tab will go one way. Okay, so if we're looking at our page, 1/2 inch tab is under, and then this will fold back over the page. Okay, so that's all there is to that. Then the second piece, we're going to do a little extra trimming. So we have our 1/2 inch and 3/4 inch here. So we're going to cut straight at that 1/2 inch mark. We're going to cut straight through the 1/2 inch and the 3/4 inch. And then we're going to turn and miter. We're going to go over here to this second score here, or third score, I should say, on this one. We're going to miter that up. Okay, and then we're going to cut that long tab out. I'm going to grab my bigger scissors for that, just because they're easier on longer cuts. The little ones are great for smaller cuts, but using them on a long distance hurts my hand. So I'm going to use my bigger scissors to cut that long piece out. So we got this going on here, tab and then straight. So we're going to repeat that process on the other side. I'm going to cut up that score. I'm trying to cut the score out so I don't have that indent showing in my page. It's just an aesthetic thing I like. And then I'm going to miter, like so. We're going to miter at that 3/4 inch mark, and then turn it and then cut straight. Okay, we want our binding piece to remain straight. We don't want to miter that. So that's what you're going to have now. Okay, so again, fold and burnish, and on this one we're going to fold at that 3/4 inch mark, and then we're going to fold at the 1/2. Make sure you get everything nice and straight. Okay, then these tabs will fold in. Okay, like so, and then this piece here will fold back. Okay, so that will be to the outside. All right, so then to glue these two pieces together, I'm going to flip this over so I have my binding piece here and I've got my 2 tabs here. We're going to take this piece with this tab and we're going to glue that, and we're going to glue it right down to the right side of that score mark at the 3/4 inch mark. So I'm going to take my glue and put it on this 1/2 inch tab on that smaller paper. Like so. Okay, and glue that down like that. Okay, so it's not in the 1/2 inch tab there, and it's not in the 1/4 inch tab. It's right to that side of it, because we still want to preserve all that so we can turn our pages nice. Then we're going to flip that open. Here's that tab on the inside, and then I'm going to grab a piece of tape, and I'm going to just put tape on that edge, because this is what this is going to do, is create a pocket. And for putting memorabilia, report cards, you know, whatever it is you want to go ahead and put in this album, I wanted to make sure that this tab here wasn't going to cause any problems. Okay, so then refold those top 2 tabs, the top and the bottom tab, and then we're just going to add glue to those and then glue this down. This is going to create a nice big page pocket. You can store all kinds of stuff in there, however you want to use this album. Like I said in the walkthrough, I'm envisioning it as a, you know, kind of a collection of well, actually, yeah, kindergarten through, you know, graduation pictures. Kind of a way to kind of have an album that will show, you know, a real nice kind of summary of, you know, someone's school career. Okay, so that's the page. So you have your binding here, then you're going to have a flap here, you're going to have a big pocket, and then you're going to have a flap on the back. Okay, so that is that. Okay, so the pages are done. Now what we're going to do is the mechanism. So for the pop-up element, we're going to make 2 of these. So this is a total of every piece that you're going to need. So you'll need 2 pieces that are 7.5 by 7, 4 pieces total that are 4 1/4 by 6.5. You'll need 2 pieces that are 9 3/4 by 4 1/4, and then 2 pieces that are 7 by 4 1/4. I did get ribbon in the design team package, and so I basically took it and cut it into 4 pieces, and these pieces ended up measuring, about 11.5 inches or so. So you'll need 4 pieces total of ribbon that are, you know, maybe around 12 inches, let's say. Okay, so let's start with the bigger piece. Let's grab our scoreboard here, and we're going to put this in our scoreboard, and we're going to put the 7.5 at the top. We're going to score at half, at 7, and then we're going to turn it and score at half. Okay, so essentially what we're doing is making this into a pocket. All right, so 7.5, we're going to score at half, 7, turn it, score it at half. Okay, that's the base. And then we're going to need 2 sides for that base. And so you'll need 2 of those 4 for each piece that are 4 1/4 by 6.5. We're going to score at half and at 3 3/4. So you're going to do that for all of those pieces. Okay, so just a score on each side. And then you're going to need the 2 smaller pieces that are 4 1/4 tall. This one is 9 3/4. We're going to score at 3 1/4 and 6.5. Okay, so that's what you do with those pieces. And then the last piece we're going to need to score is the 7 by 4 1/4, and we're going to score at half and at 3 3/4. Okay, and that's all the scoring we're going to have to do. Then we're going to take the bigger piece. We'll start with that. We're going to miter everything, and this is actually going to be a pocket along with being a mechanism on the inside front covers. So we're going to have one on the front and one on the back. I'm going to show you how to make one, and then I've already made the other. Okay, so then we just fold and burnish those scores back down, or, you know, back. That's going to be the pocket. Okay, and then we're going to put our ribbons on. So we're going to get the ruler and our score tape, and we're going to, after I find the end of my score tape, I'm going to look at the center on the sides of this, and this should center at 3 1/4 here. And I'm just going to put a little bit of tape here. We'll do it down here at the bottom as well. So 3 1/4. Just putting a little bit of tape, and I'm putting it on the 1/2 inch hinge of the pocket. Okay. Okay, I'm going to take that off, and then I'm going to use my ruler again, the center, and I'm going to take the pieces here, and I'm using this beautiful satin ribbon that's double-sided. It's absolutely gorgeous, and I'm just going to center that, and I'm going to make sure that it stays within that 1/2 inch tab. Okay, then after I'm done with that, I'm going to take another piece of score tape, and I'm going to put that over the top there, and make sure that's nice and burnished down, and then we'll turn it around. We'll do the same thing. Okay, like so. That'll close the mechanism and just make sure that it doesn't flop open and it does stay secure. Okay, so that's the first part. These will wrap around the pocket and around the mechanism and close that up. Okay, Then the second pieces that you need for the base are the 2 pieces that are 4 1/4 by 6 1/2. We're going to score, or excuse me, fold and burnish. One will go one way and one will go the other way, okay? So you'll end up with like a little Z kind of thing going on, okay? Like that, and then one will go this way, like that, okay? Then take your piece here. We're going to miter one side at this point, okay? So just miter the one side, that's going to go down on the edge, and you want it right to the edge of this piece, on the top of the pocket. Okay. Right to the edge. And try and get this really nice and straight. Okay. I'll open that up. Make sure it's nice and burnished down. Wipe up any glue. Okay, so there's piece number 1. Piece number 2 will go to the other side. Now before you glue it down, just kind of dry fit and make sure that this is matching. You do not want these overlapping at all, okay? So make sure that the edges match. Make sure that your scores match. If you need to adjust your folds, you can do that at this time. But that looks like it's fitting pretty good on my side. So I'm going to just miter the one side again, okay? And then we'll go ahead and glue. And then when I lay this down, I want to make sure it matches up to the other page, okay? So again, don't have it overlap. You just want it to be right, meet right in the middle, okay? All right. And that should open like that. Okay, like so. Then let's see, the next piece, we'll put this to the side for a sec. Let's grab the other piece. So this piece here, the smaller piece with the 1/2 inch tab, we're going to miter that. Okay, and the bigger piece will glue right on top. You want that on the back side of this panel here. So we're going to put glue here. And then when you lay that down, you want to make sure that you get it nice and straight, and you want to not go in the score, okay? I'm going to use the edge of my scoreboard here to kind of help make sure that I get this nice and straight. And I'm going to lay that down right to the side of that score, not in the score, okay? So, okay. And then this piece here, we're going to, you have 5 panels, okay? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The middle panel here stays flat. Then we're going to fold this over like this, and then fold that over like that. And then you're going to burnish that really well, okay? Really, really well, okay? Then, while this is still down, go ahead, well, actually, let's open it up first. Let's do the other side same way, okay? So when you do this, you will have a piece that's going to look like this, okay? So what this is going to do is kind of fold on itself, and it can go either direction, okay? Doesn't really matter. Now we got to attach it to this piece here. So what we're going to do is we're going to open this up. We're going to open this up. This piece is going to glue to the center here, and then it's going to glue to the edge here. Now what I'm going to have to do is cover this with pattern paper before I do it, because it's going to be very difficult to do it if I glue it down now. But what I can do now is prep where I'm going to actually lay this down. The back of this piece will glue to this piece, but you can see that that tab is a little bit too big, okay? So if you center this, okay, if we just lay this down and center this, like so, get our ruler, make sure we're in the middle. So this should, the big piece should center at 3 1/4, and this piece should center at 2 1/8 from the center, right? I'm gonna take my pencil and I am going to make tick marks on the sides of that 1/2 inch tab. Okay. So that is, I know that's where my piece is going to land. So then I can close this up, fold this down, and then I can do another tick mark on the other side. Okay. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my handy dandy little scissors here. So we have that pencil line, and this actually is about 1 1/8 down. So what I want to do is I'm going to go right inside that score line, or inside that line here, and I'm going to miter that, okay, like so, just that 1/2 inch mark. And then I'm going to turn it, and I'm going to cut down that score, and then I'm just going to cut that piece off, okay? So again, I'm going to do that here, and you can go a little bit inside that line as far as height goes, because we want that to be behind the piece once we glue it down, and it won't show. Okay, like that. So then if we take our piece, you can see that that tab is going to hide right behind there, okay? We're going to do that with both sides, and then we have to cover with pattern paper. So I'm going to do that off camera, and then we'll come back and put this piece together. But again, I'm just going inside that pencil mark there, I'm mitering it, and then I'm just cutting that little piece out, like so. And that little 1/2 inch tab will be behind the mechanism, so it won't show. I'm just cutting up that score line. There we go. So now you have a tab that looks like that. And again, this is about 1 1/8 down, okay? So let me get the pattern papers, and then we'll come back and I'll show you the rest of that. So I have my elements covered. So on this, you're only going to need to cover the one side because the back side is not going to show. So I did use some of the pattern paper for the 2 outer ones, and then I used the cardstock for the inner ones. And these all measure 3 by 4, okay? I sized them so that they would be just 3 by 4. And then we have this piece here. And again, these are 1/4 inch smaller than the piece it's covering. So this panel should be 3 1/4, and it's 6 1/2. So the pattern paper is cut at 6 1/4 by 3, okay? So you cover the outside panels. Here's those 2 little pieces that we cut off. Then it opens up, and then I have these pieces. Now these pieces weren't quite long enough, so what I did was they had a border strip. One of the branding strips on this paper collection have different sayings and stuff. Well, this one had a ruler. So I'm going to use the ruler across the paper at the bottom, and that covered up the piece that was, you know, it wasn't quite long enough. So I needed a little extra something, and this border strip here worked perfectly for that, okay? And then this piece here, in order to again help conserve paper and get this for the second one of these that we're going to make out of the same piece of paper, I used a piece of natural artisan cardstock as a mat, and then I cut this piece at 6 by 6. So the mat is 6 1/4 by 6 1/4, and then this piece here is 6 by 6. So I could just cut that 6-inch piece off the top. Okay, so that's how I did that. So now that we've got our pieces covered, here's what we're going to do. We're going to glue this down, and we're going to glue these down. Now, the easiest thing to do is to make some tick marks so that we find our centers and make sure everything is nice and tidy. So I'm going to use my ruler and a pencil again, and I'm going to measure 1 1/8 in from the top, okay? So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1/8 there from the top of my mechanism here. And I'm going to try and center it. So it should center at 3 1/4. Okay, and 1 inch and 1/8. And before, so it's 1 inch and 1/8 down from the brown cardstock. And then we have it centered. And here's my 0 here. So I'm going to just make a little tick mark there. Okay, that's going to be my center. And then I'm going to look across just to make sure everything's lining up. It is, so that's good. You can actually draw a line as well that will help you line this up. Okay, then on this piece here, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to draw a little tick mark. We can erase this, so don't worry about it. So I'm measuring the center panel, and the center panel should be at 1 5/8. That should be the center right there. Okay, so just a little tick mark. So I want to match up my tick marks here and across. So I'm just, my line and my tick marks are lining up right there. That's where I'm going to glue this. Okay, and I want to make sure everything is nice and straight. Now the other thing you can do is use your grid and make sure that everything is nice and lined up. Okay, so you can use your grid and kind of use the lines on it to help make sure everything's nice and straight. If it helps, just whatever you want to do, however you want to do it. So everything should line up just like that. So when I glue this down, I need to glue it on that tab too, okay? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this guy over. Everything appears to be nice and straight, so I'm happy with that, right? That looks pretty darn good. I'm going to get in the way just a sec. Make sure it's in the middle. Okay, so without moving everything, I'm going to put glue on this tab. Fold that over, and I'm going to glue that to that tab. Okay, so if I hold this straight, when we close this, it will fold just like that. Okay, just like that. Okay, so we're going to open this up, lay that flat, then I'm going to lay this back this way ever so carefully. Put glue on this back center panel. Okay, and this will lay flat, so you actually don't have to hold it down. Okay, I'm holding it down for dear life. But you do want to make sure that when you do it straight. Okay, we're just going to glue that centerpiece down. And then we're going to move this over. We're going to flip this back, and we're going to glue it to this panel. Nice and straight. And then it will fold in on itself like so. Okay. Whoop. But you have to let it dry first before you do it. Okay. So this will be what it looks like on the back. So you have that 1/2 inch tab just glued to the inside panel of that. Okay, have those, have our string, because when we close this, okay, you can close it either way you want. So it'll go like that, or it'll go like that. Okay, and then it opens up and it gives you those nice photo opportunities and a cute little pop-up. Looks really neat. I love how this looks. I really do. So then you can tie this shut. And then we're going to glue it inside our book. Okay, so grab your cover. Now you're going to make 2 of these, one for each of the books. They're going to be glued down to the bottom because remember, we're going to make this a pocket and put some tags in here. So they're going to glue to the bottom. They're going to have a little bit of a border here and then up here. And when I cut the pattern paper, just to show you, I tried to do them opposite. So the inside panels here are pieces of this paper here. Okay, I'm using the same blackboard background for both of these pieces, but on this one here, we'll have the wood grain pattern. Does that make sense? So close it up, and we'll go ahead and tie this just to kind of keep things tidy. Oops, if I can get my fingers to work. When I thought about this album, I thought this would be a cute way to put like kindergarten pictures in here. And then I thought, you know, grades 1 through 12 on the pages, and then this could be for graduation. So I thought that was a good thing to do. All right, so first thing I'm going to do is just glue the bottom tab, because I'm going to end up putting tape on that so that my tags don't stick and get caught up in the tab. Okay, I'm going to lay that down. You're going to have about 1/8 of an inch border all the way around. Okay, just like everything else we've been doing. Okay, now we can carefully flip this back and burnish that down. And then I'm going to grab my tape. It's not going to fold down very flat because of all this stuff on it. But that's okay. We don't need it to, because we're going to glue it and make it a pocket, right? Tape here. Okay, and we're going to take the score tape off. And we're going to put glue on our tabs here and finish our pocket. Okay. Okay, like so. Burnish that down a little bit from the outside here. Then what you're going to have is this really cute pocket back here, and then this will untie, and then you'll have this mechanism like that. You'll have a pocket back here, and you can close it, like I said, either way, whatever works for you. But isn't that fun? I think that's fun. I like it. So that is that. You're going to make another one, and that's going to go on the inside of the back cover. Okay, so another one for here. And I did give you the measurements. Now let's go ahead and we can put our pages in, and then basically that is the end of the tutorial. The rest is just decorating as you see fit. So let me grab my page. So we have our 3 pages here, and basically, like I said, this is the L hinge. So this is going to lay down on the spine. There's going to be a little bit of some pattern paper showing on all the sides, okay? But we're going to go in 1/2 inch from that spine. So you can use your ruler, and as you can see, the page height matches the page height of our spine piece here. So basically, a lot of that spine piece is going to get covered up, but that's okay. I actually cut some paper, and that will go in here too, so that'll give it the illusion that you can see the whole paper. Does that make sense? So just take your glue and go down that 1/2 inch spine. Do not put glue in that 1/4 inch. This is my L hinge that I really love to do. Now you can do this a number of ways. You can use your ruler and measure 1/2 inch in. You can eyeball it using a grid. So like if I line this up and I look at the edge of my chipboard, which is probably hard for you to see, but with me being right here, I can see it right there. Just line this up 1/2 inch away from that, and you can lay that down. Now the other thing you can do is grab your 1/2 inch spacer from Country Craft Creations, and you can also lay that down and then lay this right to the edge of that, okay? So however it's easier for you to do it, okay, and then lay that down like so. second page. So again, we're going to glue this down just right to the edge of that. So I'm going to take my glue, and I'm just laying that down right to the edge of that previous page's tab, okay? I'm just using my fingers there, just making sure. Okay. Like so. Last page is going to go on differently. This 1/2 inch tab is going to just go over this one right there, right over the previous 1/2 inch tab, and then that way you will have the pattern paper on both sides of the page assembly. Okay, so I'm going to take this and put glue on the other side there, and this one just is going to lay right on top of that 1/2 inch tab, like that, just like that. Okay. And that is that. Okay. Just like so. So now you have a pretty edge here, and then I did, like I told you, I did cut a couple pieces that will go down here, so you'll still have that illusion that all of the papers, you know, will be showing. Does that make sense? And I did cut these a little too long. Actually, they need to be a little bit shorter so they can show some of the brown, but you can also put them right to the edge if you want, and then that really does give the illusion that those pages are, you know, you can see that all the way through. So anyways, that's what I did with that. I think that's it. That is the end of the tutorial. So basically, I know you saw the walkthrough, but here is the base of the album. You've got this nice wraparound kind of looking way to cover the spine. We've got our beautiful papers on the front and the back, and then when you open this up, you're going to have a mechanism here, and you'll have a mechanism here, and then, like I said, there will be a pocket back here, not for my sponge dauber, but for tags, okay? And it's a pretty deep pocket too, so you could put a lot of things in there. And then each of the mechanisms will open up, and then you'll have photo opportunities back here as well, okay? And then they just fold up on themselves, and then you just tie your bow, and it's beautiful ribbon too. I just love this ribbon. It's so pretty. And then we're going to have our pages. So you have the flap, and then each page has a great big pocket. Okay, so like I said, I was thinking about this being a kind of a really fun summary type album of someone's, you know, school years. So I plan on like grades 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then the last assembly, which will be, you know, the same concept as this for graduation. So really quick, I wanted to share with you one more thing that I did. I did have a little bit of leftover paper, and I went ahead and made this card. I thought this would be fun to make. Like I said, I just had a couple pieces left over, a little bit of the green, a little bit of the yellow, couple pieces of the pattern paper, and I did have some laser cuts and stuff left over. So I added the pattern paper to this greeting card. It's 5.5 by 4.5, or excuse me, 5.5 by 4.25. And then I added my little photo mats here, and I ended up with a piece of green that was 4 by 3. And so then I cut the yellow. I had a little piece of yellow left over, so I cut that at 3 3/4 by 2 3/4. And then I had a little tiny piece of pattern paper left over that was 3.5, 2.5. I added some of the laser cuts, and I just layered them. So like here is the globe, stack of books, and then I put the trophy on top of the books. Here is the easel, another easel with a backpack, and then an apple here. I just layered those down at the bottom, added gem dots, and then this is one of the branding strips that on the other side has different sayings, and this one says way to go. So I thought this would be a great graduation card. On the inside, another last little bit of pattern paper, and I glued that down, added this laser cut here. Again, another word piece that came from the branding strip of this collection, and then backed it on a little bit of the brown coffee felt brown that I had left over. I added the ivy and a light bulb here so that you can write your sentiment here. I just wanted to share that with you and show you that that's what I did with the last little bit of pattern paper that I had. This is all I have left. This is it. I could make another little card, but I don't have a whole lot left over. But I wanted to show you that's what I made with that. So that is kind of the last bit of my tutorial for you today. I hope you liked it, and please let me know if you have any questions at all. And don't forget to watch all of the other designers in this hop. This is our back to school blog hop, or YouTube hop, I should say, for Country Craft Creations. And I hope you enjoyed it. So thanks a lot for watching. Have a great day. Stay crafty. Bye-bye.